3 months. Congratulations. I have not sent out your prize yet, just Nate. Um, Allow me to, I want to pull this up on my personal phone so that we can, so I can see all the comments, not necessarily see them here. Spitfire's here, Robert's here. There's only 3 people here. We'll hang out. So what's everybody carrying today? Oh, Spitfire, I still have not sent you your cold steel yet. Uh, it will be. I have not gotten an English commercial. Louis! There we go. I just want to get so that I don't have to see all the stuff there. I can see it better on my other phone. So, what's everybody got going on? 6 people here. Robert's here. Louis, what's up? So, there's some stuff I was going to talk about for sharpening stuff because this morning I was in the kitchen and I saw that my wife had grabbed the kitchen steel. And I was like, oh, no, don't grab that. She was getting ready to leave. I was like, no, don't grab that. I was like, don't use that on the kitchen knives, please. She's like, then why is it in the sharpening or in the butcher block? I was like, because the ceramic rod doesn't fit. So there's some do's and don'ts as far as just like some touch up, and there's some hacks that you can do for like, especially in the kitchen. Guys, there's 11 people here and only 4 likes. I would absolutely appreciate it if you would drop a like on the video because it absolutely pushes the video up the algorithm. So I'm trying to do something here. So 11 people here, 4 likes. At least that's what I see. Anyway, I'm absolutely trying to do 2 things at once. Apologize. So she had this kitchen steel. And like I said, this lives in our sharpening block just because I'm kind of OCD and I don't like having an empty spot in the kitchen block. So this is too big around to fit there. And so this hangs up on a hook out in my workshop in the studio. And so I told her, I was like, no, use this. And so that's the first don't use these. These things come with your sharpening, with your butcher block. This is actually a fairly nice one compared to a lot of the other ones. This came with some J.R. Heckles or J.A. Henkel's knives. J.R. Heckles is a different company. They do electrical work out here in the California area in San Diego. But at any rate, this is basically just short of being a file. Let me flip this around and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So these come with your sharpening block or with your butcher block, and that's not real good for your edge. It's basically a file that that can really screw up the edge on a knife. You've seen people that have the knife where it's like recurved in the middle. It's because they were using one of these. In a pinch, can you use it? Yeah, but there's definitely some better things than this that I would recommend using. And we'll talk about that in a second. And then one of the other things that I wanted to talk about is a lot of people are like, oh, well, I've got to have this full set of water stones, which I recommend having a good set of sharpening stones. But if you've sharpened your knife once, there's something you can keep in your kitchen that is absolutely just something that will save you a lot of time. I got 2 of them here. One is an oil stone, an Arkansas stone. Now, this is an old Arkansas stone that was my great grandfather's and then was given to my grandfather. And when I was a kid, it was about that long. And then my dad borrowed it and it wound up being that long. And then my grandfather broke it again. And apparently it used to be like pretty big Arkansas stone. But the nice thing about these is they don't wear out. They don't dish out. And the only thing you really have to do with them is just clean them every once in a while with a little bit of like barkeeper's friend to clean out this area here in the center where you're going to have some steel that loads the stone, because these aren't like a water stone. These aren't friable. They don't break down. They're much harder. And this allows you to touch up a kitchen knife. And so all you have to have is just a little bit of machine oil, like sewing machine oil, like 3-in-2 oil, and put a couple drops on it, and you can touch your knife up on this. in the kitchen. And if you don't have one of those, because this pretty much needs oil, it works a lot better with oil. If you just use water, it's going to load up. You can also use a ceramic plate. Now, these are very fragile, just like your glasses, just like your other stuff, just like this. If you drop it, it will shatter. So those are some things I recommend. And a nice thing about these Spyderco ones, they come in a leather pouch and you can use that as a strap. But we were talking about some hacks. So one of the biggest hacks is the fact that if you prevent your knives from getting dull, they're going to stay sharp longer. There's a handful of things you can do. Don't put your knives in the dishwasher. Don't put them in a strainer rack. Don't let them bang up against other pieces of material. Jay, good morning to you too. Morning. And if you guys are just dropping in, I'd appreciate if you drop a like. So we're going to talk about some of those things right after I find out what everyone's carrying, what's in everyone's pocket. Because for me, I'm carrying the production Warren tack. And this thing is terrifyingly sharp. Terrifyingly sharp. So what's everybody got in their pockets? I want to give everybody a little bit of time to show up before I peter out through all the little things. Is everyone carrying? It's pocket check time. And drop a like time. EMP Relative. Warney Pyrite, of course. The Warney Pyrite's a pretty good knife. I like that. Para 2 for Hungry Bird. REX, the Rex, is that the Rex 121 military? Those are a nightmare to sharpen. I do have to say, I know that the Rex 121 will hold an edge forever, but once it does get dull, it's dull, and when it ships, it's bad. Drinkwater's got the Ujimbo 2. What's going on here? Just got out of the gym, put down a cheeseburger as a chamber. Winston Cabretti stopped by on Saturday and had some orange Jamesons. Now, I did pretty much quit drinking, but the doctor told me, it's like, you don't have to. We figured out what's going on with my guts. It's not so much anything except my autoimmune disorder. And now that I'm back on autoimmune meds, it seems to be doing better. But if you guys would drop a like, there's 13 people here. I only see 9 likes. But at any rate, I tasted some of it and it was pretty good. It was pretty good. But yeah, I'm carrying this. I'm carrying this today, and this is really hard to get out of my pocket. This is that PMP Aries. What's up, Keen's Customs? Mark Messer has the DUK. So there we go. There's 11 likes. Yeah, there's just a lot of little things. There's a lot of little things that that go into just little kitchen, and they're not even hacks. They're just kind of common sense things. Not letting your knives get dull in the first place is the big thing, and that's where something like a ceramic rod comes in, or a strop, or a ceramic plate with this. I have loaded this with one side of this is 7 micron and one side is 3 micron. If the Spyderco logo is readable, this is the 7 and this is the 3. So, and there's different ceramic rods out there. Some of them are much more aggressive. This is a Dahlstrong kitchen ceramic rod, and it is, let me find something. Well, how convenient. I have the butterfly knife the butter knife that I sharpened that time for the channel to see if I could shave with it. Cadet Pro over the weekend. I'm a little intimidated. I don't even know what the Cadet Pro is, to tell you the truth. But listen to the difference between these two ceramic rods. That's a fairly coarse ceramic rod. So you might not want something that coarse. Whew, but that is aggressive. And this is a much finer. Hear the difference? Oh, TS Prof Cadet. Okay. I don't like fixtured systems. I much prefer sharpening by hand, but they have their place and they can be. But what I was saying is, hear how much finer that is. And now that is back up to really, really sharp. And if I wanted to, I could touch it back up on this oil stone. but that's something you want to look at, like what type of ceramic do you want? This one from Dahlstrong Knives is very, very good. Dahlstrong makes some good stuff. This first one from Dahlstrong is really good for something you're gonna do. Something you're gonna do where you're gonna be cutting a lot of meat or harder vegetables where you have to have a toothier edge. This will keep that edge back up. The only thing, what kind of oil stone? It's just it's not a brand, bro. This is probably 100 years old. This was my great grandfather's water stone or oil stone. It's an Arkansas stone. I talked about it earlier. This thing's probably, my grandfather died when he was 80, and he got this when he was in his 20s when he married my grandmother. It was his father-in-law's, and now it's mine, and it's all beat up. But it still is just about the right grit for most things you want in the kitchen. So having a nice little stone that you can keep that's not going to break down, you don't have to flatten these. I do need to take this and knock some of these chips off. I'll probably take it on my grinder and knock those edges off and get rid of some of the chips and clean up the edge on this, because you can get into it. But I mean, typically I'm only using that much of the stone. So a good Arkansas stone or oil stone are really good. Now, do not get it mixed up and think you can just take a wet stone, a water stone, and take it and put oil on it, because you will ruin that stone. It will never work right again. There are some aluminum oxide stones out there, like an India stone, that you can use oil on, and they work great for that, but not one of the water stones. That's why I put them in here. And you've got to be careful. You've got to be really careful about how you use water stones and keeping them separated from anything that is going to have any oil on it, because you can definitely ruin a very good stone really easily, and it won't ever be the same. Like it's not like you can wash it out. You could try, depending on what kind of oil you use. I've seen people do it where they'll put a stone and boil it in water. I don't know how some of the composite stones that I have would hold up to that, like the Dahlstrong stones. But just saying, like, it's not something you want to do. A water stone is only going to have water on it. You just got to be careful. But having a good ceramic rod is one of the biggest kitchen hacks you can have, because if you are using your knife, like I said, the biggest thing is don't let it get dull. And so you use the knife, like I cut up a little bit of stuff and I'm done cutting. Every time I use that knife, just a real quick pass on a ceramic rod will keep it up. And now that is very, very sharp again. So, and yes, I did a video where I sharpened this and then shaved with it. So having a ceramic rod is really good, but then everybody's like, well, some of those ceramic rods are expensive. And I'm not gonna lie, some of them are. This is a very, very nice one. And it was not cheap. And I've taken really good care of it. It's nice because it has that rubber foot. So if you're not comfortable using it like this, like I do, up in the air, you can put it down on your counter and then just take the knife on either side of it like a crock stick. But if you don't have one of these, there's an option. Come with me. I'll show you your option. There's definitely an option. And your option is every one of these is basically a 2-grit hone. And we'll just grab the crazy sharp one. These are all basically a 2-grit ceramic rod. You've got a coarser part here, which is not super, super coarse. And then this glaze that's on the outside is also ceramic. So it will be abrasive enough to give you a finer grit edge. And I'm gonna show you how you can use it on a knife that my daughter used and is now not as sharp as I would like. So instead of just using the ceramic rod, and if you're just dropping in, I'd appreciate if you drop a like if you're hanging out. I'm just gonna take this and I'm gonna run it down the base of this cup. And I'm just holding that, maintaining that edge, just like I would on the ceramic rod. And now, it works like a charm. I'm not gonna lie. And if you want it to be a little bit finer, now you can see I've done this before. You can get up here on this glazed area, and you kind of want to stay away from anything that's got print on it. I'm trying to find an area that doesn't have print on it to do it on. And so now, that knife that wasn't so sharp, hang on a second, I'll show you. I'm coming back. That knife that my daughter used and abused has now got a very good edge on it. And if you don't want to use like one of your good coffee cups, you can use a simple stoneware bowl, like the stoneware bowl from IKEA. These are even better, these little ceramic bowls. You know, everybody has those coffee cups that you don't want to ruin. I have a couple of them. And so basically you're doing the same thing you'd be doing on that ceramic rod or on a sharpening stone. Matter of fact, my father-in-law, when he cooks, has a bowl like this upside down on the counter, and he just touches that up. And that is, once again, very, 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 very effective just by using that. And like I said, same thing. If you want, hey, what's up, Stone Hands? If you want to have a finer edge, you simply can just take some of that final burr off using the same angle on the glazed part of the bowl or cup, and you wind up with a very, very good way to hone and touch up your kitchen knives. So do you have to go out and buy an expensive ceramic rod? No, they're handy, and I'll tell you why they're handy if you have a lot of different knives. And I don't have it on me, but if I say I had a recurve or a karambit, like my Norseman, I can get into the recurve on this. But if you have a smaller curved bowl, you can do the same thing on this that you do on the rod, because it does have a radiused surface. So that is one of the big hacks, is just like if you go to an Airbnb, I'm gonna tell you right now, when we go to Airbnbs or stay at hotels that have a kitchenette with friends, I'm always, the first thing I do is I go check, I'm like, those knives suck. And I'm out with a bowl in the kitchen, or the bottom of a plate, or the bottom of a coffee cup, and because you don't want to try and use dull knives. Now, there's a limit to what that will do. If it's a bad edge, it's probably not going to take it up. Like, that is probably about a 400 or 600 grit on that. But if you've ever done a lot of sharpening, you know a 600 grit can't remove enough material to like fix a chip. So you're limited. So if the knife is completely dull, you're gonna have to sharpen it. And same thing with this Arkansas stone. Now you can use an Arkansas stone dry. I don't recommend it because they will load up quickly. But you can hear just doing that. That's not real aggressive. That's not going to repair that. So if you've gotten it real dull, you're gonna have to go back to an actual sharpening stone, because this is a honing stone. And same with that ceramic spider cup. This is a honing stone. This isn't something that's going to do a lot of, it's not going to do a lot of hard work. What is the best grit to start with if your edge has little to no damage? Depending on the stone, what's up, Bubbles? Depending on the stone, you could probably, like how aggressive they are. My wife's kitchen knives, I have those Dahlstrong sharpening stones. A lot of times I'll just use just the 6,000 grit and see how it does. Your best bet is to start knowing how dull the knife is. So if you're starting with a fairly dull knife, you're gonna have to have a more aggressive stone. If you want a finer, you know, like this is a pretty fine, I don't know, Bubbles. I would say yes, probably. Like you can hear, that's a very, very fine very, very fine ceramic on that. So, but it does give you a very good edge. So, if you're just dropping in, I'd appreciate if you drop a like. And like I said, the nice thing about this is it comes in a leather slip, which allows you, you've got two sides. So that's got a fairly coarse, like suede side, and I can touch it up. I can hit it on that. Leather has a lot of natural silicates in it, just silicates in it naturally from the tanning process. And so it works really well as a strop. It's been used for years and years and years. And you can align that edge back up a little bit. And this has that side where I was saying, like, you can see I've put a little bit of gunny juice on there and loaded that up a little bit with some strop, and you can touch that up and fine that edge up depending on how you want it. And so with all that being said, that knife, I should have done a cut test first. That knife was not very sharp. My daughter uses this all the time on glass and ceramic plates, and I constantly am having to touch this knife up. This is her favorite knife. I don't know why she uses the cheapest knife in the, maybe it's because she knows it's the cheapest knife. She doesn't want to damage one of the good knives. But yeah, she uses this a lot, and it's always a little bit damaged. So that's one of the things you can do. And like I said, these are expensive, but they're very nice, these Spydercos, and when they come in that leather slip, then you basically have a built-in strop. But if you don't have that, you could always get a paddle strop, which is the next piece of things that I'm going to tell you is kind of like a little kitchen hack, like a sharpening hack. These are one of the best things you have. This is loaded with two different things. This is aluminum oxide on one side and gunny juice 3 microns. So that's about 8,000 grit on this one. And so you wind up with a really good strop surface on this, but like your ceramic rod, this paddle is curved and you've got a nice surface if you're doing a recurve knife. Or a serrated blade. You can get in sometimes the larger serrations on a knife. You can get in there and touch those up. But you don't have to buy one of these because most of us, and I don't have one on right now because I'm wearing track pants because I've been chauffeuring the child around all day. You don't have to have that. You can just use your belt. Like I said, leather, the tanning process is going to be enough that you can probably, as long as it's not gone too far. Like the least abrasive, the least aggressive method in this is going to be the strop. That is not going to fix anything, really. It's just going to touch back up what's there. There's some things, there's some steels that respond really well to a strop. There's some that don't. But generally, a strop is just going to realign your edge a little bit. It's not going to remove much material. Like I said, there's a little bit of abrasive on this. But, and somebody asked the question, is there any difference in technique between S35 VN? A lot of it's just going to be that you're probably taking it too high up in grit. S35 VN is one of those steels that likes to be, I would say don't go above 600 or 800 grit on S35 VN. But what I was saying is, out here, I have got a two-sided leather strop. There is nothing on this. I use this razor strop just to knock a burr off. So you don't necessarily have to have a paddle strop. You can just get a cheap razor strop. But you can also use your belt. Because like I said, the leather does not necessarily have to be loaded with anything to be effective as a strop. I've used my belt a lot of times in the field. You can actually use, if you've got a knife that's really dull and you've got some 550 cord, like paracord, you can put a little bit of, depending on where you're at, you put a little bit of like clay. You can make like a slurry of clay mud like we have here in San Diego and put it in the paracord. You can use that as an emergency strop if you need to. It works. It doesn't work great, but it works. So, but no, S35 VN is one of those steels that you just don't want to take too high up through the grit because it's just going to lose its tooth. And then there is a final thing that you can do if you don't have a strop and you want something, oops, that would simulate a strop is you can take like let's say this is a, actually, we'll go back out here. I actually have a block that we can use. You can simply take a square block of wood. You can simply take a square block of wood like this. This is actually a strop. It's loaded with, I think this is the 7 micron gunny juice. You can actually take this and take a piece of newspaper, phone book paper, and wrap it around. Now, typically, if it's a really hard block of wood, I would say take 2 pieces just to give yourself a little cushion so that it's got like more like the leather. But this is balsa wood underneath, so it's fairly soft. And that has got enough, it has enough abrasive in it because wood has natural silicates in it. So the paper fibers have got it. The ink that's on your newsprint has a little bit of abrasiveness to it. But the big thing is this pulp, this loose pulp paper that you get in like a phone book or a newspaper, the way they bind that is with a ceramic mud. And so you get a very good strop in a pinch to touch up on just using newspaper. So there's a lot of different little hacks. Like, as long as your knife hasn't gotten too far, that is now ridiculously, this knife is now ridiculously sharp just with these little things that we've done. And I haven't put it on an actual sharpening stone. Put it on a couple hones. I put it on a strop. I could use ceramic rods, but most of what did it was the bottom of this bowl and then this really fine, really fine ceramic glaze that's on the outside. Now, I'll tell you, one of the things you want to do is you want to feel for like any bubbles or anything in that glaze before you do that. That is one of the big things I didn't mention that. But if you're going to use the side of a bowl, like the glaze side, to really put a much finer edge on that, which it has done, you're going to want to feel for bubbles and feel the bottom for like chips and bubbles and stuff like that, because you can chip your edge. But those are just little things. Yeah, have you ever like felt like a high spot, like you got a cheaper bowl and there's like a spot where like there's some grit that got underneath the glaze, or there's like a little bubble in it and you hit it and you can feel it when you run your finger across that, your edge is going to hit that as well. And if you bump into it with the edge, it's going to screw the edge that you're trying to fix up even worse. So, but those are just some of the little kitchen things that you can do. There's also, I did a video where you're on the door, on your car door, you can roll your window part way down, and the very top of that, where there's some roughness, that like that almost blasted edge of the glass, the frosted part at the very top, you can use that like a strop, and that works really well if you're out in the field and you can get to your car. It actually works as well as the bottom of this bowl. And you saw we took this bowl and this coffee cup and absolutely brought this edge back from, well, a 15-year-old girl that cuts on ceramic plates was using this. Let's find another one that's dull and see if we can do it. Let's see here. Oh yeah, here's one. You probably can see that edge. I know I can. Can you see? This is one of my wife's knives that she absolutely abuses, but you can see there's some problems with that edge, and just simply using the now, I would say to be careful doing the back and forth, because what can happen is that gap, you can screw up the tip of the knife by banging back into it. So if you're not real comfortable doing it, I would say just do the one direction, not the band. And then we'll see. We may be able to fix it. This might be a little bit past and have to go on a stone. But typically, You can fix a world of hurt on a kitchen knife just with a ceramic bowl or a mug. Let's see. I don't feel catches. I've removed most now. It's coarse. If I was to put it on this finer ceramic rod here, I'd probably get a better end result, and I definitely did. But yeah, I mean, that's something that people have done for years. Crock sticks and these ceramic rods all come from the fact that on farms, people would use the side of their crock pot. Look at these. Oh, that's right. I was supposed to hang that back up for my wife. Crock pot. This is the inner crock from a crock pot. So you can use the edge of this. The bottom of this is a very good one because you've got a really big surface. So like that knife we just did, if I was to do that on this, let's see. You can see we're leaving the material behind just like you would on a sharpening stone. On a crock. And that's where these all came from. People are like, somebody was like, oh, well, why don't we just make ceramic sticks for in the kitchen? Because, you know, my grandmother used to use the crock pot, or my grandmother used to use the bottom of a coffee cup to keep her kitchen stones or kitchen knives up. And oops, they are absolutely an effective way to do it. So that's pretty much all the kitchen tips and tacks and stuff that I've got. If you guys got any questions about sharpening, I can answer some of them. I was hoping to get a bigger turnout, but I do realize that it is lunchtime for most people. And I apologize that we're doing this, but like I was telling Jared, I talked to Jared Neves on the phone earlier, and I was like, my favorite cutting board, currently for me, my favorite cutting board, Robert, is this one. It's a little like cheese board. But it's a bamboo one. I have a larger bamboo one. My wife likes these PET low density, these high density polyethylene. They are good because they clean up nice, but the fact is these absolutely will make a knife dull faster than a wood cutting board. Plastics are some of the hardest things on an edge. Like people don't believe it. You ever notice that like when you buy like the saran wrap that has the cutter in it, by the time you're through, like if you buy it at Costco, it comes with one cutter and 2 rolls of saran wrap, and you just take the cutter and put it like the slide cutter. It never makes it through both rolls. Like it's dull, it's binding up. It's because even something like saran wrap is very, very hard on edges, and that's why we have steels like M390. M390 was absolutely designed by Böhler Udelholm for the plastics cutting industry. A lot of the steels that we love and adore, Grandpa's dentures are a good pull-through sharpener. I don't think you just pull through anything, and I don't know. I mean, you could try it, but I think you're gonna get yelled at. Like if they were like my grandfather, what the hell do you think you're doing? It's absolutely the plastics industry that has driven a lot of the super steels that we use today. M390, like Maximet was for the steel, for the metal cutting industry, and well, the cutting industry period. A lot of those steels that we use have come from that industry. There's only a few steels that were designed specifically for knives. 14C28N and 12C, both of those were specifically designed for outdoor applications for knives. RWL34, another one that was designed specifically for the knife industry, and that's because it was Robert W. Lovelace that came up with that composition. So there's some definite overlaps, like the cutting industry, and that's why sometimes it's hard. Like everybody's like, oh, the guys like me are really happy because there's so many knives that are coming out in S90V. Well, that's not because the industry's like, oh, we want to make everything in S90V now. No, it's because 20CV is hard to find for a couple of reasons. It's predominantly for the plastics cutting industry, and that's who their primary customer is always going to be. And the second one is, I don't know if you guys know this, there was a huge fire at the Bowler plant, and there was a lot of damage done, and their capabilities were limited. So there's a lot of stuff going on there. What's everybody got going on now that we're 30 minutes in and we've exhausted all my others? There's other little kitchen hacks, like if you wanted to have a question like how you can do something. Waiting on you guys. We have to generate the conversation. I didn't fly into this with a lot of stuff in mind, but I will tell you, getting ready for swing shift. I will tell you, Coffee Brand Coffee. There's a link in the description. Absolutely supports the channel. I have an Amazon store. If you guys would like to pin that to your browser, that would be great. And if you haven't checked out the memberships, Rocky has donated a lot of people memberships, and it's absolutely stepped up our stuff on the membership stuff. Any folders I've been impressed with lately? Yes. I think today, I'm really pressed for time today because me and my daughter, I have to take my daughter I have to pick my daughter up from school and take her straight to play. Like, I've been with my daughter all day. I was telling Jared this, like, I took my kid skating, brought her home. She got changed. She had to go to school because she only has 2 days a week where she's in person. And so I had to get her to school because she does all homeschool stuff. And then on the way back, I had to, come back, drop her off at school and come back here, do the live, and then we go out. But this has thoroughly impressed me. This is the Warrantac. So you guys remember I had the Warrantac Protos. I have not gotten anything in 15V yet. No one has sent me anything. I've been trying to get somebody to send me something. I can't buy anything at this point, especially with YouTube demonetizing my live feeds or running limited ads. I have the yellow check, the yellow $ of death on all of my live feeds these days. So it means that they're running ads, but they're not going to pay me the ad revenue. They run the same ads. I don't like, oh, you got limited ad revenue because it might not be advertiser friendly, but like when I click on them, when I sign out and I click on my videos, I see the same ads that I see on every one of my videos. So I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. You're still running ads, but you're just not paying me. At any rate, I had the prototype Warrantac, and it was really, really good. It was really, really good, and Daniel told me it was going to be even thinner because the specs were going to be that they were ground to 0.018 behind the edge on the production, hollow ground to 0.018. And the original ones weren't, the prototype ones weren't, but this one is just a nightmare. I cut some cardboard yesterday, and it's going to be part of the First Day in Pockets because I've got most of the First Day in Pockets stuff filmed on this. I just haven't done the editing. This actually, I cut so much cardboard, and it just kept screaming through it. It got hot enough. It was like uncomfortably hot to the touch. I was like, wow, that is really, really hot. S90V, 420V was inspired by 420. S60 inspired by 420C. I love both. I hope to see more S60V. I've not gotten to see Bubbles. I don't know. You're asking me about a piece of equipment that I've never used. If they're recommending use it dry, or just a drop of water. Yeah, this warning is really good. How about strop angles if you have a 70-degree edge? Nice thing about strops are typically, here, I'll show you. Let me push in on this. So when you put this in, you can see that little line. Well, maybe you can't. See that little line that formed? It's because I was just putting a little bit of pressure on that. It's because the leather on a strop is soft. And that's why I said if you're going to use cardboard or use a newspaper on a block of wood, to use a couple layers. The nice thing about it is you put it on there, and that little bit of pressure, it's going to kind of conform around the edge. So you don't have to be exact. You can kind of just get it up, and all you're looking for is to make sure that that you don't see light underneath, and if it's touching at the apex. And if you do that, you should be good. The nice thing too is even if you go a little steep, all you're gonna do is put just the tiniest of micro bevels if you're using a loaded strop. And if you're using just plain bare leather, all you're doing is readjusting that edge. So your angle doesn't have to be exact. So you don't have to like measure out 17 degrees, but if you sharpened it by hand, you should be able to pretty much find that angle again. And you'll feel when your edge bevel marries up on the leather, and you're gonna hear if you get to, here, let me see if I can show you. So that's how it should sound. That's not how it should sound. Listen, here we go. No sound, right? If I go too high, that's how you hear a sound. You really shouldn't hear much on the leather. It should just be a little bit of a whisper, like. And if you go too high, you can hear that you're going too high. And you can absolutely overstrop, especially on a loaded strop. So there's no like real set angle to it. Stropping is something that is a lot easier than sharpening. You don't have to be as precise. And that's the nice thing about a strop, is it's just an easy, quick touch up. But always make sure that you're doing edge trailing. You put the tip down here and you're putting that way, because if you go this way, you're going to cut your strop. So if there's anyone new, please drop a like if you're hanging out. Let's go check on Chunk. Let's go check on little man. Let's go see what he's doing. So we have built a puppy prison. I weighed him this morning. He weighs 22 pounds. He weighed 20 pounds the other day. So he's gaining weight quickly, but he's tired. He's tired from doing all the puppy things, like chewing up his bed and chewing on things and getting wet in the yard and needing toweled off. So we had foam everywhere from his puppy bed. So we had, yeah, he's a good boy. He likes to play with the cat. The cat sometimes doesn't appreciate it, but you know, what's the cat now? What's the cat now? Have I sharpened the Warren tack yet? No, that's the other thing, because it's an M390 and it has held up very well, even with all the cardboard I cut yesterday and filmed it for the first day in pockets. It's held up very, very well. So I don't think there was any heat. There's definitely no heat treat issues with this at all. And it's absolutely... What's up, Mark? $60 an hour videos. Yeah, always low pressure. I don't put any... So if you're doing anything sharpening, be it sharpening, honing, stropping, you shouldn't be using any pressure, really. Mark, I don't understand what you're talking about. The cat gets himself in situations where the dog is going to play with him, and he absolutely loves it. You can see him. I put up a couple videos on Instagram with the cat and the dog playing, and they absolutely go. Now the dog has found that now he weighs enough that the cat can't. Oh, I see what you're saying, Mark. The cat, if he lays down on him, the cat can't get up, and so now the dog's favorite thing is to let the cat walk by and then run up behind him like he was going to hump him and just lay on top of him and then just pancake out. And then he just licks and chews. He licks the cat's head and chews on the cat. And so that's his new favorite thing. How is the detent? It's a good snappy detent. Listen. I mean, you can see it's a fairly large detent ball, so you can watch the AKA 20CV. M390 actually, I'm going to tell you something about M390 and 20CV. M390 is actually better. And it's not the composition. It's just the fact that Bowler has been doing powdered metal, get that fucking ping pong ball in my mouth. They have been doing the powdered metallurgy longer than Carpenter or Niagara. And so you don't get, it's not the composition that you get a better, more consistent, finer grain structure in M390 than you do in 20CV. There's very minimal differences. 204P, 20CV, M390 are so very, very similar in their composition that you basically wind up with the same end result as far as hardness and wear resistance. But what you get is you get a different feeling edge because of the consistency that they get with their powdered metallurgy. And it's just that they've been doing it longer. They're on like I think they're on 5th or 6th gen powdered metallurgy. So there's some definite differences. Warrantacks are available right now. They are available at precisionknifeworks.us, precisionknifeworksusa.com, I believe is what it is. But you can always just type in Warrantack and find them. He has a sale going on, but this thing is really, really good. And I'm pretty impressed with how well it cuts. And yeah, he's doing, okay, so this comes in 0.018 behind the edge. 0.018, which is stupid thin. The regrinds that he's doing are coming in at 0.010 to 0.009. I believe that these are in. I'm doing a live feed right now, fucktard. What are you doing during the game? Because I had to change my schedule. I can't do the evenings right now. I'll talk to you later. That was Purple Heart Barbecue. He knows I'm live. He absolutely knows I'm live. He does. So, let me go grab the sheet that came with the Warrantack. My studio's a mess, guys. I'm not gonna lie. You want to see? This is currently it looks like it's a mess. But here is the paperwork that came with. I tried so hard. Guys, I have a big video. I had a big video planned. I had so much stuff that I wanted to do on this video, and I filmed parts of it several times. And it's going to be a multi-part thing. And these are 20 CV. Sorry. You're right. These are CPM 20 CV. So I do see that these are 20 CV. I thought these were M390, but at any rate, it's QSP. QSP's done a lot of OEM that I've seen, and it's all been really good. The stuff that they sent me is great. The stuff that they've sent me has been great. I've only done the one video so far. First day in pockets, and that was the Dutch the Dutch Blade Works collaboration called the Legatus. I'm pretty impressed with that one. So, let me see here. Yeah, Polly's probably watching, but who cares? 0.018. 0.018 behind the edge. Unless you get one of the... Hi, Polly. Unless you get one of the reground ones that he's doing, which I think are 300 right now. Unless you get one of those and then they're 0.010 and can be down as... can be down as low as 0.009. Just depends, because he's grinding them. You know, he's regrinding them on his grinder. So, but like I said, I've been really impressed with this one. Been really impressed with this one so far. How it cuts and everything. Another knife that I'm really impressed with. The QS or the PMP Aries has really, really impressed me. I'm really happy with this knife. This came in to me as a gift from Winston Cobretti. You saw him on here earlier. He dropped off a bunch of stuff we're going to do an unboxing on. There's a lot of really cool stuff in there. This is absolutely one of the best knives that I've had come in a long time. Now, would I say it's knife of the year? No, because there's so many other things going for a knife that is already knife of the year that you guys know, the CGRB Echo. Well, I may as well grab it. If you're asking about it, I've got to put all this stuff away before I go. My wife will throw a fit. Knives have really impressed me. Let me grab a couple more of them. We'll grab this one, and I'll grab this one. This one, now keep in mind, this is a prototype. So, knives that have really impressed me, we already talked about those two. This one is my current knife of the year. It's the CJRB Echo. Now, this is the prototype, so it has thumb studs. This thing is absolutely a beast and has still got the factory edge on it. And I have cut so much with it. I was showing Winston Cobretti yesterday, or Saturday. This thing has cut so well and has not needed resharpened. It's been stropped a couple times, and AR-RPM 9. Somebody was asking about AR-RPM 9 and what it compares to. They were saying, well, is it like this or is it like that? And I was like, not really, because right now, no, absolutely not. But it compares chemically a lot like 9CR. If you look at it chemically, but there's some differences in it. And just even making a small change in the chemical composition of a steel can completely change the way it performs. And so 9CR is a pretty good steel. But what happened was when they did this and they added cobalt and a couple other things, they went out with something completely different. And Elliot was like, there shouldn't be enough cobalt in there to matter. And there shouldn't be enough of this other rare earth elements and stuff. And we looked at the chemical composition, and then we tested it, and he goes, it shouldn't, but it does. It definitely is different than 9CR, and it's a powdered metallurgy. But what this has going for it is, this is probably one of the best steels when it comes to responding to a very basic strop. Plain leather strop will bring this from almost dull right back to hair popping. And if you use the newspaper thing I was talking about, this newspaper is my preferred method of stropping AR-RPM 9. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. I don't know what does it. But if you strop this on something that's like a loaded strop like this, it almost gets too fine and it feels like it loses its tooth. But if you go right back to raw leather and strop it, or felt, I have a felt strop, a really nice razor strop that has a felt side, not canvas, but felt. This coming off of felt will feel like it's got a brand new fresh edge on it, even if it was dull. And I mean, like, I've had it dull to the point where it didn't really want to cut paper anymore. And then strop it back up on felt, and it's right back to like factory sharp. And I have not even put this on a ceramic rod. All I have done is strop this on either newspaper, felt, or raw leather. And it has just done incredibly well. ARRPM 9 is one of my favorite steels out there. And I don't mean just budget steel. I mean steels, period. Some of my favorite steels, S90V, M390 20CV, ARRPM 9 14C28N. Those are some of my favorite steels out there, and a few of them are like budget. I like the thumb studs, but I absolutely do like the reverse flick aperture on the production one. Now I can reverse flick off of the thumb studs on this one, but this is the prototype. So you can strop. I just said that. Like, you can replace a leather strop, like a raw leather strop, with the back of your belt. And it's nice because you can just take it out of your belt loops, stand on it, and strop, and then put your belt right back on. So if you guys are dropping in, I see people drop in and out. If you're dropping in, I would appreciate a like. So cutting cardboard and starting to get dull, I would strop on cardboard. You can do that too. Typically, oh yeah. Oh, if I get my finger out of the way. It's really snappy. But there's some, mine's the prototype, so it has some issues. I'm keeping this prototype. Russell told me I keep it. I may send it back to him because I may be keeping the production version. Because mine, being a prototype, I've done a lot of stuff to it. And mine, the prototypes typically aren't sold because, well, there's issues with prototypes. Mine has developed a little bit of blade play that comes and goes. And I think that it's because this was hand done and hand ground and hand cut, that there's just like some inconsistencies in the plunger for the plunge lock on the button lock. But it is still, this is still a super, super great knife. And I'm not typically a fan of front flippers. So there's this one. This one has impressed me. This was another one that impressed me. Mark! I don't have, hang on. All right. A little bit of kangaroo flute for Robert, or for Mark. I'm sorry. Would you please just show off the Master Blaster? I will go get the Master Blaster in a second. We're talking about knives and impress. Actually, we'll go and I'll grab it right now, just for you specifically. Mark, thanks for 5 bones, man. I appreciate it. Super chats have been few and far between, and I'm not going to get really wound up about it because I do understand I haven't been able to drop Jared a super chat in a very long time. I wanted to drop one the other day, but I just realized that I have to replace my wife's windshield because it's fucking cracked. Master Blaster. That is my Ferrum Forge Master Blaster. So that's just for you, buddy, Nathan. Another knife that I'm really, really impressed with. I grabbed a couple. This little thing right here is incredible. Here, let's turn this around. Here on the coffee pot stand. This is, there's so much, my wife would throw a fit right now. This thing has really, really impressed me. This is the Oaks Works EDX Lantra. And it's another, I can't get my hand. I've got carpal tunnel, and I did so much cut testing the other day, my hands are just all screwed up. You can reverse flick off the thumb studs on this one. And it's a top flipper, front flipper. Can you see the ano on the pocket clip? Probably not. It does not photograph well. It's a bronze. I don't know how well you're going to see it. Most of the ano is worn off of it. It's just bronze. It's just bronze ano. Most of it's gone. I need to just go to my buddy's place and set up the ano tank. But no, what I was saying is this one, M390, uh, and a nice little knife. I love this little knife, and it reminds me a lot of a knife that I've handled but couldn't like, and it had the same similar blade shape and an angle in hand where it swept back and had the same kind of profile, but a good bit different. Um, the busker, the Olamic busker. Now, I like the busker, but it just doesn't fit the way I want and feel right in hands for a small knife. This thing is great, even though I'm only getting like a 3-finger grip on it. If I get way up here, I'm 4 fingers, and it's just beautiful in hand, and it gets me that same kind of blade profile as a busker, but without the discomfort. I just could never like the busker. Hey, EN510, what's up, buddy? You're in New York, right? At any rate, if you're dropping in, drop a like. But this thing has really been one of those knives that I enjoyed carrying. Thumb studs, some people have complained, I don't like the way the thumb studs are, but for most of the use, even if you're cutting from here, you're not cutting like straight down. Like most of us, like I've done so much cutting with this, and I've watched the street clients. None of them are coming even close to the thumb studs. They're going from that point up to here, and I'm using this blade, and it's cutting through nicely, and I'm not having issues with hitting the thumb studs. And the fact is, most of the time I'm using this knife, my thumb is on the thumb studs like that. I'm not holding it like this. And if anything was going to block the cut on this knife, it would be my thumbs, not the thumb studs. So anybody that says that, like, oh, the only problem I have with the thumb studs is because they're so close, and I said it in the video, because they're so close, they have to be a little tall so you can get on them, which that's fine, but they have caught just Nate some dollars. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Let me grab my kangaroo flute. Oh. Sorry, buddy. Kangaroo flute wakes the dog up. Yeah, I had it in my hand moments ago. How do you set a knife down and it just, there it is. How do you set a knife down and it just you guys ever do that? You set something down, like you're at the counter and you're like, I haven't fucking went anywhere. I've went nowhere. Where is this? Why is this? Why am I not able to find this? So at any rate, yeah, really impressed with this. How well this is done and how much I like it. Can you compare the quality of production Ferrum Forge versus the Ferrum Force in-shop quality? I will say that, since we're going to talk about that, I would say that I don't see a vast difference. What I see is a difference in feel. Like Elliot is really, let's go out here. We'll take some of this stuff back out with us that we've talked about already. Elliot is really picky about quality. So before anything leaves the shop, and this is the reason, like, a lot of people are like, well, you should do an OEM run and this. There is so much that you guys don't see that happens in an OEM run. When you get knives, when you see knives show up at like Blade HQ and they've got the Ferrum Forge logo and Design Works and stuff like that on them, that's because they don't go straight from the OEM. They don't go straight from from the OEM and then hit the stores and hit the vendors. They go to Elliot's shop. And Elliot, no joke, I've seen it, I've been part of it, I've helped do it. Elliot takes every one of these knives apart, inspects them, cleans them, relubricates them, puts them together, and checks them again. Because anything that's leaving his shop with his name on it, he's very particular about. So as far as quality, there's not that big a difference. But what there is the little nuances of a hand-built knife are always going to be a little different. The detent's going to feel different. The knife itself is going to have a different feel. you're not giving up anything in quality, but what you're giving up is like a little bit of soul in the knife, if you want to know the truth. But I will say that their production stuff is absolutely just Nate. Thank you very much again for some kangaroo flute. Here we go. There we go. That's a good. Sorry, buddy. Lay back down. Go back to sleep. Wakes the dog up. But you really aren't giving up much, to tell you the truth. It's not like they're just letting knives leave. Now, every once in a while, one gets missed, and people are like, "Oh, I might have had a problem with this," and I'm like, "Let me ask you a question. This is the one that irritates me. It's like, oh, it's bullshit. I don't like." Elliot does like a hard detent. So EN 150 or 510, I got a knife back from spa service from Elliot, and my weak ass bitch hands had to get used to the new detent strength. Elliot and I both love a very stiff detent. I have knives in my collection that I've redone the detent on and retensioned the way I like it. And there's people that cannot. They're like, God, that hurts my fingers. Like, what is up with? I love a good stiff detent, and if you've got a good, solid, heavy-duty lock bar that can support that, I love it. I have a few of my Ferrum Forge knives, and I've redone them. And Elliot will grab that knife and he goes, "Did I do the detent on this?" I was like, "No, I did." And he goes, "That's right. You and I both enjoy the same thing." So, not a big difference as far as like I'm concerned about like quality. You just give up you just give up a little bit of different things. But you're also not going to get some of the bells and whistles in one of these that you get in one of Elliot's hand builds, like the carving and stuff like that. I do know that they do some occasionally and they offer them, but it's just, which do you want? The HRD is not an HRD. I don't want to get into too much on that, but screw Hoback. He did not design that. He does not deserve to be able to con that. He took what was already available on the market. It is called a rolling tension set screw. So basically it's a single bearing that's in a threaded race by itself that screws into something, and you can adjust the amount of tension you want on that, and it is a rolling set screw, so you can tension something in position and have it still roll. It's an adjustable set screw with a single bearing in it. It was an available part. It was already existing. And he took it and put it into use in knives, and they're like, "Nope, now you're going to call it an HRD." No. Screw him. That's not how this works. If you want to design something new, then you make something new. You don't repurpose an existing tool and then say that you have to call it this. Not true. But the rolling detent does give you a definite different feel. But some of the newer ceramics that they're using in detents, this is every bit as smooth as any of my rolling detent knives. The flip side is the detent's never going to be as crisp because that rolling detent was big and it allowed it to drop way down in a detent hole. Yes, exactly like the detent nub. Exactly. That's something new. But at any rate, a rolling detent's larger and it allows you to drop it in further, but because it rolls, it allows you to come up and out. So you get rid of. This one doesn't really have it. He's really picky. This one definitely didn't have, and I have to admit, this came directly from Elliot, so probably this is the best possible version. Like, this was probably the best knife they had laying around because they knew it was going to be in a video, like Nick Shabazz always says. But yeah, you get a different detent feel with a rolling detent. It definitely gets rid of a little bit of that sloppiness that you get. Especially that sloppiness that develops over time. There is a little bit of detent lash in my Norseman because it's just it develops over time. There's a tiny bit, but it's still really snappy because it's got that flat face detent. Didn't the rolling detent also make the SM100 run possible? Not exactly. The smoothest SM100 knife that Elliot ever made used a regular pivot screw, or not a pivot screw, a body screw that he screwed in, made the detent that way, and just rounded the bottom of it, and it was the smoothest one. The thing is, for some reason, SM100 does not like ceramic, so they had to use steel balls instead. But yeah, it kind of did help because it allows that to roll. But he definitely found that SM100 does not like the ceramic, and you find that when you're grinding SM100, he said as well, because the belts have a ceramic abrasive. He's like, the belt would be fine, be cutting, and it just would not cut SM100 anymore. And you have to take that belt off and get a fresh one. You could use that belt for anything else, but you just couldn't use it for SM100 anymore. So yeah, there's some nuances to that Nitnell stuff, but it's part of why, but not exactly. Yes, it likes, no, it absolutely, on aluminum oxide, it's great. All the SM100 I ever did, I did on aluminum oxide, and the Chosera, or the Naniwa Superstones, when you get up into really high grit, you can get away with ceramic, but you can't strop it. It doesn't, it's not that it was tougher. It just didn't, like, it just decided it wasn't going to cooperate anymore. Like, I'm done doing it. It's like sharpening it. You'll fuck around with SM100 and sharpen and sharpen and sharpen, and you're like, it's just not doing anything. And it's like, I'm not doing it. I'm not getting sharp. I'm not getting sharp. And then it's just like, all right, screw you. I'm going to get so terrifyingly sharp that you can't touch me. Just all of a sudden, it'll do it. Or you'll be sharpening SM100, and you literally have to do this because it has a memory. You will have to put the knife down and walk away, and then come back, and the stone will start cutting again. It's just like it has a mind of its own. But if you're just dropping in, please drop a like. And guys, I would absolutely ask that you check out this video's sponsor, Coffee Brand Coffee. They have a new flavor called Blackberry Cream. You use coupon code Crazy Sharp. It absolutely supports the channel, and it's not supporting stuff that you don't necessarily believe in because they don't believe in anything. My daughter's got a whole bunch of bananas over here that she stopped eating, and we have fruit flies because everyone around us has like lemon trees and shit. And so there's a lot of fruit flies around, and now they've found my daughter's bananas. So there's a couple knives. This is another, and I'm gonna have to end this soon because I have to be able to go pick my kid up. So I'm gonna probably end it in about another 30 minutes. This is another one that has come in that really impressed me. I was talking about this. This is the QSP Legatus. It is a great, great little knife. I am very impressed with it. This is in M390, and it is ground super thin. I did resharpen it. My goodness, this thing is a good knife. There are 0 hot spots on this. This is Dutch Blade Works collaboration with QSP. And this is a QSP knife, but it just melts in your hand. I like heavy duty cutting with this is a dream. I was cutting some wood with this. No hot spots. Everything is so beautifully softened on this, and it's so easy to carry. I was carrying this. This is a big knife. This is not a little knife. You see, we know I've got big hands, as everybody's like, oh, take a drink every time Mike mentions it. This is not a little knife. For a comparison, this is the Ferrum Forge Aluris, which is not a little knife. And it's a good inch bigger. I was carrying this in a pair of shorts, like basketball shorts, out in the yard, messing around with the dog. It's not heavy. It's got these big carbon fiber layers, but this is what gets, we're just talking about detent. You guys, I was just said I like a heavy detent. That has got a very stiff detent, but when you get ready to release the lock bar, it's not. I want to see when it was enormous knives like the React T1000. I want to see. Could you recommend a poor man's strop inside of a leather belt or any compound made of household stuff, you can get away with not using a compound on a strop, as long as your knife, well, depending on the steel. Newspaper. Nathan, I already mentioned it. Newspaper wrapped around a block of wood is absolutely a very, very good strop. It winds up being about a 2,000 or 3,000 grit abrasive. And it's one of the absolute best strops. Wildest designs that I was surprised how much I like this one. This one does not look like I would like it. Like when this came and I opened it up, and it was a gift from Winston Cabretti, and I opened up the box and I was like, oh, that's cool. I was surprised by its looks, and it's typically not something that is something I would dig as much as I do. And it's beautifully done, and it's beautifully comfortable, and I love everything about this now. And there was a couple small issues with it that I repaired, but it was still just awesome out of box. And I was really surprised because at first blush, just glancing at it, I was like, I'm not gonna like this. And I held it and I carried it in and out of pocket. I used it and cut with it. I absolutely love this knife. And I'm really surprised that I did. Now, I will say there's a couple things that, like Jim was doing, thumb stud. I can't do that as well. Those stop pins, you can use them as thumb studs to open. For me, because I've got some carpal tunnel, I have a hard time with it because they're really close and flat. Like there's not a lot. And so I can't get on them as much as I would like, but you can. But the reverse flick on it is great. Yeah, absolutely surprised at how much I like this. Another knife that really surprised me that I didn't expect to like as much as I did was that little that little Remette. The small little Remette budget knife that I gave away. Just Nate won it just the other day. Was not expecting to like that. And the Artisan Great White is a nuts design, and Daniel won that when I did that. Daniel won an Artisan Great White from me when I did the members giveaway. Guys, I'm gonna plug my members. Would metal polish work? You got to be careful with metal polish because metal polish can just burnish your edge. Metal polish is polishing, and it's not necessarily got the cutting grit that you want, and that's why I'm saying, like, you got to be careful, because if you're using just like metal polish, you can absolutely what's called burnish your edge, and it's gonna make it fine. It's gonna make it look good. It'll be shiny, but it won't have any grit. I would not use polish. You can get away with certain things. Like I said, newspaper works really, really well. Newspaper is probably my go-to because you can recycle it. You just throw this in your recycle, and it's got the abrasive. It's a one-time use. You can do it real quick. Just wrap a couple layers of newspaper around a block of wood. Some steels, they recommend something. You can use, you can absolutely use your pants, like denim material. Denim and cotton have enough natural silicates and stuff like that in it to be abrasive enough to take up the edge. Just newspaper, the flat matte, like this, just regular newspaper. Not like the shiny stuff. The shiny stuff will work too, but not as well. Just, I said this is my election guide that talks about the different candidates and stuff. But yeah, not like your polished stuff. So old jeans are a very good strop. I would say you got to be careful, make sure they're clean, because the flip side of that is they pick up stuff. Keeping your strop clean is a big thing, and that's why this is good, because it's always going to be clean. Keeping a strop clean is important because the leather and stuff will pick up grit and and things like that. That's why I always, like, I wipe down my strop that hangs on the workbench before I use it. Usually I'll take a damp rag and I'll just wipe it down, because any dust and stuff that gets picked up, you know, my neighbor does a lot of work in his garage. He was cutting metal for shelving. He's putting up some shelving in his garage. So that stuff comes in, and especially if it's a loaded strop, or if you've oiled it and kept it nice and soft, it's gonna absorb those things, and you can actually damage your edge more than you're helping. So just making sure your strops are good and clean. These stay in a drawer, and like I said, they always get wiped down before I use them. But that's where I said, like, the newspaper comes in handy, because it's always going to be a fresh, clean piece. Because when you're done, you're just going to throw it in your recycle. Back to the grind. All right, Mark, take it easy. Thanks for the 5 bones earlier, buddy. I appreciate it. But like I said earlier, the bottom of a plate, bottom of a bowl, bottom of a plate, bottom of your crock pot works great. If you didn't see it, you can go back and rewatch this whole live feed. I sharpened a knife that was damaged. Now, is it an optimal edge? No, it's not super good. But is it good enough to go back in the kitchen block for the things that we do with this knife? This is not a very good knife. We don't use it for stuff. It's fine for that. No, thanks, Mark. I appreciate it. So, what's some good advice for an upcoming knife maker designer? Don't do it. Stay at your job. Don't quit your government job like I did. No, I'm kidding. Okay. Be tenacious enough to be your own advocate for, like, hey, I believe in this design. But don't take it too far and be stuck on the idea that your design is the end-all, be-all. Oh, shit! Keen's Custom Tools. Thank you very much. Holy shit. You get... You get kangaroo flute, my friend. Don't get too stuck on your design being the best. But also have enough tenacity to say, hey, I really think that this is a good knife. If I hadn't done that, the Sea Snake wouldn't have come out. I had some other designs. And what you have to do is you have to be able to acknowledge that knife companies know what's going to sell better than you do. If you have gotten shot down by multiple companies and they say, hey, we just don't want to do this, maybe take a look at them knowing what will sell. It may be an awesome design, but it also might not be something that will sell. As popular as the Sea Snake is, it's not that profitable. I'll tell you guys right now, they literally sell thousands. And this is the other thing. Don't get wrapped around like, I'm going to have this design come out. I'm going to be the next Ken Onion. I'm going to be Jason Browse and have a trapper cabin up in Alaska. No, you're not. You make literally cents of every dollar, and you don't make... My Sea Snake sells for $30, right? I don't get 30 cents. I don't get cents of that. I get like a portion of the manufacturing cost, what they are selling it to vendors at, which is way under $30. You know what I mean? And that's why I have an affiliate link with Artisan. So if you're going to buy a Sea Snake, please use my Artisan affiliate link that's in the description below, because I get paid twice. I get paid royalties for the knife being sold, and I get paid an affiliate link for that. You're not going to make a lot of money designing a knife unless you're Elliot Williamson and you've got literally thousands of designs out there, hundreds of people asking for designs and doing design work for other people and doing CAD work for other people. You're not going to make a ton of money. I probably make $200 a quarter on the sales of the Sea Snakes. And if you figure that those knives are probably going out the door to vendors at about $5, because you figure vendors going to have their markup and then they have what's called maximum allowed pricing, and that's what a lot of them are being sold at. So that knife, you've got to figure the cost of the manufacturing, the cost of shipping from the manufacturer to the warehouse in Texas, shipping from the warehouse in Texas to the vendor's markup. I'm probably making a portion. Those knives are probably maybe $10. That's probably a knife that a vendor is buying for about $10. And everybody's like, it's just ridiculous. You know, you're paying like Eric Oakes's knife that I had up here. It's probably the $30 knife to make. That's not the fact. That's not true, first of all. And they're like, all that money goes to China. No, it doesn't. There is, depending on how you look at it, which company you talk to, and which one of the makers you talk to about dealing with OEM and all that stuff, there's anywhere between 80 and 95% of the money for that knife, like the $300 you pay for this knife. Most of that stays within the confines of the United States before it goes back. Like, the vendors don't pay very much for the knives. They mark up their price because they have employees, they have to pay shipping, all this stuff. Makers, designers have to keep their shop running because they have to use that money that they make to buy the next run of knives from the vendors. Like we talked with Brian Nadeau about it. You know, when he doesn't get knives in and people have prepaid, all that prepayment that you guys do for these pre-orders, that's what pays for those knives. And any profit he makes kicks over to the next run of knives. He really does not make all that much money on an OEM run because vendors eat up a chunk of it. He has to pay the vendors. The vendors aren't buying them. You know, vendors are only paying him a portion of it. Stuff that he sells, like the stuff that Chris and Elliot sell on their website. So I tell you guys, if you're going to buy a Ferrum Forge, buy it directly from Chris and Elliot from their website. If you're going to buy a Brian Nadeau, buy it directly from Brian, if possible, because that money stays with them. That money stays with those designers and doesn't get eaten up by vendors and all that stuff. I absolutely would never buy a Ferrum Forge knife from a vendor unless I absolutely had to. Like, both of my NTACs. So I have my NTAC and I have my father's NTAC that I bought him as a retirement gift. Well, they weren't available at Ferrum Forge. They had already gotten all of their, grab mine and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So this was no longer available at Ferrum Forge. I wanted one, and they pointed me to a couple of places that still had some in stock. Yeah, no talent ass clown. It's possible. They had none of these in stock at a lot of places. Chris and Elliot were like, look, I know one place that has them. You can go to their website. So I went to the website. I bought it. I bought the exact one I wanted. I bought the color pattern I wanted. I bought the exact one that I saw at their shop the first time I ever went. A few months later, or about a year later, my dad was retiring from the sheriff's department. I bought him one exactly like mine. They weren't available online. I reached out to my friend Andy over at NowPack Group, and Andy's like, I've got one in shop that's exactly like yours. I'm going to take it off the shelf, and I'll get it for you. And I was like, okay, cool. So I bought my father one exactly like mine. That's the only time I have bought a Ferrum Forge knife that I did not get it directly from them. Because I know that that money stays with them. If I buy it from a vendor, that means that they got screwed and then went and had to, like, they had to pay the tax of being on a vendor's website and shelves and stuff like that, which I understand. Vendors have to do that. They have their employees and stuff. If I was to buy an Aluris, I would buy it from them. If I was to buy any of the knives that they have available, I would buy it from their website or give it to them cash in hand. This one I didn't buy. They sent this to me because they wanted to put it on the channel. I'm going to talk to them about seeing if I can't get a button lock stinger when they come out. We'll have that on the channel. I'm trying to get Elliot to come on a live feed. But you guys know I've changed my live feed schedule a lot too. There's been some big changes in our life. My daughter reminded me that she's basically only got about a year left before she's going to start doing a bunch of college stuff. And so we have like a year and a half left. She's graduating a year early and she's doing college now. So There's time that I need to devote to family that I was spending on live feeds, which, not gonna lie, as much as I enjoy this isn't profitable. It really isn't. Like the super chats, absolutely, I love it. Thank you for the $50. Keens, that's amazing. To everybody that drops super chats. But the live feeds aren't profitable. They really aren't. I do them because I enjoy them. The problem is I haven't enjoyed being stuck at the computer 3 days a week for 2 hours in the evening and giving up family time. So now, Mondays and Wednesdays are basically my days off. I worked over the weekend to film some stuff. I was unhappy with it, so I didn't get anything done this weekend. But I film the rest of the week. Mondays and Wednesdays are family time. So I'm no longer doing those live feeds in the evenings. I'm doing them during the day, and that way I'm done at a reasonable hour, and I can spend some time with the family, and we can do stuff together. I said it in a live feed not long ago. My wife and I were talking about it. We sat down and ate a meal together, and that was the first time that I had sat down and we had all eaten a meal together in probably 7 months. She tells me supper's ready. I come get a plate. I go back out to the studio. I sit down in front of my computer and I eat while I'm editing. And I'm not happy with that. I enjoy it. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely enjoy it. I enjoy the things that I get to do for the YouTube channel, but I'm not happy with it. I'm not okay with that being the way that we interact in our family. And so I've just made some changes. Lunchtime live feeds on Mondays and Wednesdays. Fridays are getting moved to Saturday because Friday night my daughter skates and I want to be able to go. And there's other channels that are doing live feeds right around the same time of mine that have more pull. And not trying to sound salty. I've always tried to be very considerate of times. I reached out to Zach and I'm like, hey Zach, I know you go live on the weekends. Is it Saturday or Sunday? He goes, Sunday at noon. I'm like, cool, I'll go Saturday at noon. I realized that G-Ball Vision goes live and sometimes he's live at noon. I'm probably gonna shift that to 12:30 so that we have time to be up to and touching and I'm not stepping up. Wednesdays, I go after Jared if I'm doing an evening. And it's just, I think that that's just a fair way to do it. And there's other channels that don't see it that way, and that's their prerogative. They can run their channels. It's not like there's a set time frame and things like that. So I might have sounded salty about it because I had gotten set on doing it that time, but I'll just move it to Saturday. So we'll just do stuff on Saturdays, which is a little bit more comfortable for me. I can get up in the morning, I can have my coffee, I can set up the stuff. My daughter usually on Saturday is busy for the majority of the morning, and so she's not able to do anything during the morning time because she has Pilates in the morning and then skating in the evening. So we have a period of time. But I want to be able to start going. Once the dog is able to go and be around other dogs, I want to start taking the dog to the ice rink and go with my family and actually have some family time like a normal human being. So I'm probably going to wind up taking that job, and then there just won't be Monday, Wednesday live feeds. If I can get that instructor position, there just won't be Monday, Wednesday live feeds. We'll just do a Saturday one because I won't have to worry about it because I'll have that income. I just don't know how soon that would be. And if you're just showing up, I would appreciate it if you dropped a like. It would be great. There's 31 likes and only 12 people here. So that's always good. Let's see. Yeah, so that's just we're gonna have some growing pains on the channel. When I started doing this as my full income, it absolutely did work, and it was working really well, and it was fine, and there was a lot of stuff that was going on. The ad revenue was way better. It's not just me. I'm not just trying to like complain that I don't get the ad revenue. It's not just me. It's across the board, across all channels. And my platform isn't big enough now that there's been the drop for it to be the sole source of income. That's why there's the affiliate stuff. And I've got the Coffee membership. Sponsorship, and I plug that. But it's just that we're going to have to look at this differently. Is this still, it's not tenable for me to do it that way. And so I'm just going to continue to change things. But the channel won't ever just die. I'm not just going to like leave the channel. I did get something in, and I filmed a little bit last night. I did something silly but it wound up working out pretty well, and I'm pretty happy with my purchase. I did some silly Instagram Wish shopping for the channel. I did it absolutely for the channel because I knew it was going to be a video, but I'm kind of pleased with my purchase. I expected to be, I was like, oh, here we go, more Instagram garbage. Because I was trying to find the exact same thing on Wish and I couldn't. They had something very similar. They had something very similar on Wish to this, but not exact. So I went back to Instagram, found the item, I bought it on Instagram, which I paid more for it than I would have if I had on Wish, but they didn't have exactly what I wanted on Wish. So you guys are going to see a video of that, but this is a knife you will never have to sharpen. No, this is a knife. This is a pocket knife, a folding knife you will never have to sharpen ever. Period. Guaranteed. You could, but you don't have to. So, give you guys another, we got about another 10 minutes and then I'm going to end this. Anybody got anything that they want to talk about? I love this. I love all the Dahlstrom stuff they've sent me. I stopped putting the link in with, shut up, Bubbles. No one asked you. You're just going to have to wait and see. It's a unique material. Let's just put it that way. It's unique. You can sharpen it. You shouldn't have to. I will tell you, and I'll start putting the affiliate link again down below. If you guys are looking for some really good kitchen knives, this Dahlstrom Gladiator 8-inch is, fuck, I hate saying this. I actually gave away my Mattia Barani cutlery to my father-in-law. My Mattia Barani Bowie chef. He wanted a really nice chef's knife. He cooks all the time. When he retired from his job as a carpenter, master carpenter, he started working as a prep cook at a restaurant because he likes to prep food and chop. And he wanted a really nice chef's knife. And he was like, can you find one? Because he didn't want to spend what they were charging for a really expensive one. So I sent him my Mattia Barani cutlery Bowie chef. And I typically don't either. I typically don't like the bolsters either, but when I get up on this, I'm not using that area, so I'm not worried about sharpening there. And plus, I have a grinder. I could always take that out if I want. But this has some of the best balance and feel, and overall, for the price point, probably one of the best knives on the market. And so when they sent me this one, I sent him my Mattia Barani. He loves it, and it absolutely is an amazing kitchen knife. I just personally like this one better. It's just got the right balance for a kitchen knife. And the Mattia Barani had a little bit of an issue where I felt like I was sharp. The only thing that, like, the reason I like this as opposed to just grinding out the bolster and having the blade come all the way back, I've discovered is that when I get in a pinch grip, it does not feel sharp. And I absolutely use the knife like that most of the time. And so I don't feel like I'm up against a sharpened edge or a sharp edge. So they have a plus and minus. Plus, it comes packaged well. It does not fit in my knife block, in my butcher block. So, let's see. But they also have sent me, they've sent me some of their real high-end stuff. This is an absolute amazing kitchen knife. And this is in, hang on a second. It is in, oh, I don't have the box for it. I can't remember the steel on this. It was a high-end steel. It was one of the higher-end stainless steels. And it is, doesn't fit in your knife block. It sounds like a good excuse for you to keep it. No, my wife uses it all the time. It just sits in a drawer because it's got the nice box and the This thing's insane. But it's got a nice magnetic thing, and this sits in a drawer. My wife uses this all. This is a Honesuke Japanese poultry knife. It is a Honesuke. It is a Honesuke. It's a Honesuke Japanese poultry knife. It's exactly what it is. It's 100%. And it is a beast for cutting stuff because of the way it sits. So you can really power through joints and stuff on chicken and things like that, which is what it's for. And it is beautifully done. And this gets a lot of use. My wife uses this a lot too. It's great. And their stuff has been great. And I stopped putting the affiliate in because no one was using it. But nuts. You gotta be careful with this. You'll take a finger off. You take a finger off and not even realize. You're like, oh, hey, I'm bleeding. I've cut myself with this 3 times. And all 3 times I was like, damn it, I cut myself. And then you look at it, you're like, ooh, I cut myself pretty good. I got myself okay. That's not a little bitty, itty bitty. Like, it's not just a little Band-Aid we're throwing on that one. We're gonna have to super glue that. Like, ooh, that could warrant an emergency room trip. So, and then All Strong also sent. I'm just showing. Like, I don't even have an affiliate link on the thing. They also sent me this, which is their Phantom series. This is an amazing little paring knife with a great balance in the back, and it's got that really good grip. So you like your peel and stuff. This thing is a great little knife. So, yeah. All their stuff comes with like these little, so you can throw them in a drawer if you don't have room for them in your block. So my butcher block is not deep enough for that the length of that chef's knife. So, let's see. I'm probably going to end this. If you guys have got any last minute things, if you haven't dropped a like, I'd appreciate it. You can check out my sponsors, Coffee Brand Coffee, and use the coupon code CrazySharp, all one word, capital C, capital S. Try out, I'm going to tell you right now, try out their strawberries and cream coffee. Absolutely. I went through my second bag of it just here yesterday. I finished it. So good. It is really good. I'm not typically a fan of flavored coffees, and all of the flavors that I've had from them have been really good. They're kind of an understated flavor. They're not like real saccharine and sweet, kind of like overpowering. Just really good. Know anything about XC100 steel? I sharpened something in it for someone not long ago, but I can't remember. Was it XC100? XC100. No, that's 200. I'm trying to look it up. XC100 steel is composition. XC100. I'm trying to look. I'm looking up on Z Knives. I don't have my reading glasses on. Hang on. I gotta look. I'm old. It's easily worked. Sort of de facto standard. Typically, the hardness is several makers take it. Sandvik, it's I don't see an equivalency on it. I think makes a very pure equivalent of the steel under Sandvik 20C shock absorber. That's what it sounds. It sounds a lot like UHE 20C BE 1274. Yeah, it's kind of Sandvik 20C shock absorber. It's probably pretty equivalent to that. I don't see 1095 on there. I'm trying to remember if I sharpened anything in that or not and how it did. I don't know, but I think I've done the 20C shock absorber before. But yeah, I don't know anything more about it than that. I got a bunch of notifications though. Hang on. Ooh, buddy, did I get a bunch? I doubt it. It's I would say no. If you're talking about it being close to the what was the UC, the bowler, UHC, I can't remember. It's a carbon, yeah, it's a carbon steel, yeah. Probably more along the lines of a tool steel, like YXR. I was talking to somebody about YXR. I had a Rockstead come in that I touched up for a guy, and it was in YXR, and we were talking about the fact that YXR is a tool steel, and the DLC, it rusted through the DLC, and everybody's talking about, oh, DLC so it's not anywhere near as rust preventative as like an honest to goodness ceramic coating that's impervious. It's too thin, and it allows stuff in while it's attractive. And I don't like DLC. I never really have liked DLC. I haven't found it to be attractive. It has some benefits. It's really scratch resistant, but it almost looks, I don't know what to call it. I've just never been a fan of DLC. So guys, that's it. I'm going to end this. I've got to go. I've got to get all this stuff cleaned up. I have to go pick my kid up at school, take her to her Pilates class. We basically, like I said, Mondays and Wednesdays, especially this Monday, my wife had to go to work My wife had to go to work this morning early, and she has a doctor's appointment this afternoon. So I'm doing all of the I'm doing daughter chauffeur all day today. So don't forget to drop a like on your way out. Check out, there'll be a video going up probably either 2:30 or 4 p.m. I'm not sure which, depends on how easy it is for me to get it scheduled and everything. I still have to do a thumbnail, and I have to do a couple of other things. So yeah, no, that's it, guys. So I'll see you guys Wednesday, probably about the same time. If anything changes, I'll let you know. I do have some stuff that I have to take care of. I got to replace the wife's windshield, so probably do that Wednesday. I don't know. I see if I can find a place local that will do it cheaper than Safe Late. So, all right, guys, I'm out. I love y'all. I'll see you.